People have been wondering what we've been doing at home during this time. And yes, I've done some practicing and yard work and cooking and watching TV and all that kind of thing, but I've also been making a lot of masks. And I just got a new batch of material today, so I thought I'd show you the process. It's not exactly as easy as they make it look online. It's kind of time-consuming and tedious, and I know that my junior high home ec teacher would really be upset with me for sewing over pins, but that's just the way it goes. So anyway, the first thing I do is I will pre-wash all of my material and stick it in the dryer. And I'm going to do this because I use 100% cotton, and I want it to shrink because I want to shrink it before I cut it. Otherwise, if I gave you a mask that I hadn't pre-shrunk, then you would put it in the washer and it would shrink down to nothing. So the washing and drying takes about an hour, and then after that I'm going to iron it all really well before I cut it. So that's the first step, and there you go. So since yesterday, when I put the material in the washer and dryer, I took it out and I ironed all 5.5 yards of it to make sure it was nice and flat for cutting. I kind of laughed this morning when I saw a video that said, make a mask in 10 minutes, and that sort of is like those cooking shows where they have lots of assistants and they don't show you all the back steps that you need to know. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do this turkey and I'm just putting it in the oven and voila, here's your second oven with the turkey already made. It's not gonna happen that way. It took me about an hour or so to iron the material, and to cut out all the material has taken me probably 4 hours or so. So this is sort of the tail end, and I'm just going to show you the tail end of the cutting. I have my pattern here, and I pinned it down, and oh look, the fairies cut this part of it already. So I'm going to finish making this cut with my handy dandy little thing here, and I'll cut the rest of that later. So I'm going to take this pattern off, my nice homemade pattern. Now, and by the way, my friend and tenant downstairs, Christine, is doing the filming.
That would be me.
That would be her. That's why we can do this without the mask and the social distancing. So I found out that once I washed this material, it shrank down to, it was 44-inch material, and now it shrank to 42 inches, so I can barely get my 7 pieces across. But all I have to do is this. They don't show you this part of it on those videos. And I do that 6 more times, and that's this row, and I'm going to do the same with that. And then I'm going to go to the ironing board, which through the miracle of video is going to be miraculously not on the video, but I'm going to go to the ironing board, and all my pieces that I've cut, I'm going to fold over a seam and iron it, because I'm making masks with an open pocket to put an extra filter in, and so I want to finish this edge. So in order to do that, I really want to iron it down so it's easier to feed through the sewing machine. So now we're going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you the actual sewing process after I've got all this stuff done. So now we're back at my sewing machine, and I'm just going to show you how I finish off a couple of pieces of material here. One's already in here, and I'm going to just go for it. This part of it is actually pretty easy. So, boom. And I've done that with now almost all of the about 140 pieces or 150 pieces that I have cut since yesterday, with the exception of that little bit of red material that's laying in the kitchen. So now we get to the actual putting together of the masks. So I'm going to go back to the regular stitch. And this is where the elastic comes in. You put your right sides together, and I'm going to pin in. I've pre-cut 7-inch pieces of elastic, and I'm going to pin them in. Oh, and by the way, this is the roll I have. It has enough elastic on here for 180 masks, and I realized this morning that I've already gone through one whole row. So that's a lot of masks. I just really didn't keep count, but I realized that. Anyway, I'm going to pin this in the mask, in the material, and sew that. And you know, I had a little fairy do this before. So here's one that's already pinned, because this is really, it can be a very tedious process. It's also a tedious process when your thread starts getting messed up. But anyway, so now the first part is, and apologies again to my home ec teacher because I'm going to be sewing over pins. Okay. Okay. Back stitch a little bit. Turn the corner here. I still do like to be as precise as I possibly can. So that takes a little longer. Some people don't care. Okay. So that's the first step. And trim off the ends here. I hope my scissors are getting dull. And I'm going to turn it inside out. And now the next step is to go back to the ironing board and press this nice and flat so I can fold it up really nice. And I had my little elf do that before, so now it's a nice flat little piece. And I usually like to start this whole process here of putting gathers in it. So it goes down to about, well, we start out with a 6-inch piece. I'm going to go down to about 2.5 inches. Anyway, and I have, guess what? Had my little elves pre-pin so that I can do the top stitching now. So, and remember I want to keep a little pocket open along one side so I can put another type of filter in. And got to remember what type of thread. I have yellow thread in the bobbin, white thread up here, so I guess I'm going to work this way. And sometimes I'll backstitch too to get it extras. And I'm going to go around twice to make sure that it's all really strong. Okay, now I can take the pins out. Oh, and the other thing I was going to mention is, you notice I have two types of material, or two different kinds of material. Some people, I've been told, I've been hearing, have been wearing their mask, their cloth mask, over and over again without washing it in between wearings, which is not really a good idea. And so if you're going to do that, at least don't put it where you have the outside on the inside and vice versa. At least keep the same side to the outside. So this way, you know pretty much which side you've been wearing outside, and keep that side outside. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Go. Okay, I'm ready to turn around and go back all the way around for reinforcement. Oh, sometimes my thread sticks and then it breaks, and then I gotta start all over again. But that didn't happen that time. So these are fully washable and dryable, and they are pre-shrunk. I haven't been noticing a lot of people mentioning that they wash the material before they cut it out, so they probably, stuff would have shrunk to nothing. Okay, so there we have a face mask.